This weekend it's back to Premier League talk as Liverpool will be taking on Leeds. And just a reminder, after those 3 losses in a row for Liverpool, they did have that win on Sunday against West Ham United. Then it was back to a draw on Wednesday against Sunderland. So ahead of Leeds, let's get word from Arne Slot.
What steps do you feel you've taken in the past week with 4 points from a couple of games just to start turning things around?
No, the first thing you said in your question, 4 points out of 2 games, is different than the last 2 home games we've played, which we've both lost and conceded 7 goals. And in the last 2 games, we were 1 deflection away from keeping 2 clean sheets. I said against West Ham, the good thing for us was that they didn't score their one and only chance, and the same thing happened again in this game. They did not score the only chance they had. And you're looking at me, but they did score, yeah, but that for me was not a chance. The only chance they had was after 93 minutes when they went 1-on-1 to the goalkeeper. So that's a step forward if you compare that to 7 goals conceded in 2 games. We did not concede a set piece in both games, which is also important. As a result of that, maybe we got 2 results. And I think there are also positives to take from the players we've brought in during the summer, that I see they are getting more and more consistent in their performances. Florian's maybe the most obvious one, but I see the same with Milos Kerkez as well. Alex scored his first goal a game ago. So yeah, there are positives to take, but of course still not where we want to be. Let that be obvious and clear.
What do you make of what he had to say?
Sounds like they're having a great season.
That's the thing, he's even getting sarcastic at the point, you know, but the last chance that Sunderland had, had Liverpool lost that game, I think he could have been fired, you know, because people are starting to be fed up with him, you know, trying to find excuses about the results that they have. I mean, we can't recognize Liverpool from last season, and this is part of because of his responsibility of not being able to put the best team, to find the chemistry between the new players and the former player. But he can't talk like that. I mean, we don't listen to him anymore because he's not saying the truth, and what we obviously all see.
Did we to you what he had to say there?
Well, they've just played one of the weakest teams going forward in the league in West Ham, who don't create a lot of chances, and they won. And they played a side in Sunderland who've promoted from the Championship, having a great season, but particularly away from home. They did it at Chelsea. They got a great result at Chelsea, but they sit in and they defend deep and they hit you on the break. And that's what Sunderland did, and that's why Sunderland did not create many chances against Liverpool, not because Liverpool were great defensively. What he forgot to mention, that his skipper again made more mistakes. His skipper gave the ball away, his skipper turned his back, his skipper Van Dijk never closed the ball down. That was the goal, off the deflection off his hip. They play Leeds this weekend at Ellen Road. Leeds, who could have came back from 2-0 down, didn't against Man City, but could have in the second half. Leeds, who have just beaten Chelsea at home. And Leeds, who, I know we threw a stat out in midweek, Mark Ogden's fault, it was wrong, right? Oggy.
That's why we avoid stats.
But it was something like they only lost once at home in 18 months, but I think it was a couple of times. But part of that's in the Championship. But they've got their ginger up, Leeds. They're feeling a bit more confident about themselves. Daniel Farke got his players playing. If Liverpool were to be on the wrong end of another result here at Ellen Road against another promoted team, he's just going to face more questions. And would I be super confident that Liverpool are going to go to Ellen Road and win? No. Because they haven't defended particularly well recently, even if the results have been slightly better.
And Leeds obviously needing points themselves, as you can see where they're sitting as it stands right now, just outside of the relegation zone on 14 points in 17th place right now. So that's one of the games that's coming up this weekend in the Premier League. What's your prediction on it, Craig?
Do you know what? Great atmosphere, Ellen Road, feeling good about themselves. Liverpool not. I'm going to go for a draw. 2-2.
Frank?
I want to go for a draw as well. And because of the position Leeds is right now, I'm saying that you can't win against Chelsea and also win against Liverpool. You have to have weaknesses and drop some points. So yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1, 1-0 for me. Yeah.
They lost a goal, Leeds, at the Etihad after a minute, 59 seconds. And then they lost another one. But they still had enough about them, enough character, enough skill, enough desire to come out the second half and take the game to Manchester City at the Etihad and then beat Chelsea. So they are not going to be a team that's just going to roll over for Liverpool and say, hey, get your season going, start here at Ellen Road.
Yeah, that's the last of the games on Saturday. The first of them is Aston Villa taking on Arsenal, and you can see that is first against third in the table right now. It's Aston Villa playing host in this game. This is going to be an interesting one, Craig, an interesting one to pick apart, really, given the fact that it is Villa against Arsenal right now, two Spanish managers.
I mean, think about it after Villa's start to the season, which was very slow, and you wondered, have they run out of steam a little bit, Unai Emery's players, with all that high-octane intensity that he likes his players to play with? But it turns out it was just a slow start to the season. They go 3 points behind with a win.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden they're thinking, hey, we could be hanging in there in this. But I don't know. Is it 8 wins in the trot or something like that? Morgan Rogers playing great. Ollie Watkins getting some goals again. Arsenal have some injuries, particularly at the back, but they're a strong side, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm edging towards Arsenal eking out a narrow win here, rolling the sleeves up. If you're going to win the title, these are the type of games. Got a couple of players out, go to Villa Park, the early kick-off, roll the sleeves up and just eke out some sort of close win. And that's how I see it from an Arsenal perspective.
My concern is what I saw from Arsenal against Chelsea. 11 against 10, not capable of finishing the job, and Chelsea is still being a threat. 10 against 11, Neto could have scored a goal, and Aston Villa is doing great. And because I really want a race. I don't want to make it too easy for Arsenal. So when I said Chelsea would win against Arsenal, I think Aston Villa can win against Arsenal and did a very good run right now. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 for Aston Villa.
Okay, that will make things interesting. That's two of the games coming up in the Premier League this weekend. There are, of course, plenty more. This is what you've got to look forward to, including Manchester City taking on Sunderland on Saturday. And it all wraps up on Monday with Wolves against Manchester United.
Now, the transfer window may not be open for another month, but clubs are already getting busy. Yesterday, Arsenal confirmed they'd signed 16-year-old Ecuadorian twins, Edwin and Holger Quintero. The hype has already started online. So to hopefully tell us more about them, we're going to be joined, of course, right now by South American football expert Tim Vickery. Tim, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Now, there's a lot of Arsenal fans that I'm sure will be waiting to hear about these twins. Just how good are they and how much of a coup is this for Arsenal?
Well, the key word here is wait, because they're 16 and you can't have them until they're 18. So they're going to have to spend another couple of years in Ecuador first. Obviously, there's very little on them. They're 16-year-old kids. One of them, Edwin Quintero, is being compared as kind of the Ecuadorian Neymar. There have been plenty of those, just as there were so many new Maradonas back in the day. But the one thing I can tell you about these kids with all certainty is that they have a stamp of approval from the club, which is perhaps doing the best youth development work in the world at the moment. It's this club in Ecuador, Independiente del Valle. It's a little club on the outskirts of the capital, Quito. It got taken over by a group of investors about 20 years ago with the idea of producing players to sell. Now, they take this really, really seriously. They got unbelievable facilities, educational facilities, as well as footballing facilities. They bring over top-class coaches, a lot of them from Spain. The jewel in their crown so far is Moises Caicedo, of course, of Chelsea. But if you look at the Ecuador team qualified for another World Cup, almost all of them have come out of this one club. The defensive unit, they've conceded one goal in the last 11 World Cup qualifiers. You get William Pacho, the big centre-back there, Paris Saint-Germain. He's from this club. Hincapié, now of Arsenal. He's from this club. And the other one, well, Ordóñez, who's playing in Belgium at the moment, it wouldn't surprise me if he's in the Premier League very, very soon. He's also a product of this club. Kendry Páez, who Chelsea took, he's on loan at Strasbourg at the moment. There's a little bit of a kind of Phil Foden vibe about him. Very, very talented left-footed attacking midfielder. He was scoring goals in World Cup qualification at 16. He's from this club. And of this generation, they've produced another one, a centre-back, Dana Ordóñez, another Ordóñez, who Chelsea have already picked up, but we'll have to wait another 2 years to see. So if these two twins don't come off, it won't be for lack of quality preparation, because this club is doing miracles in Ecuador.
It is incredible. Obviously, they come from a great side that have created a fantastic alumni. I find it really intriguing, Tim. Are we starting to see more of the South American younger talents choosing the Premier League as their destination? Because in years gone by, you know, even when I was growing up, it was always they'd head straight to Barcelona or Real Madrid would get in there first. Are we seeing that more of a shift towards the Premier League?
Well, I think the big change has been the Premier League going to source. The Premier League going straight to South America to bring them over. Whereas before, the Premier League would rely more on secondary scouting. You know, the Sergio Aguero route. He comes over to Atletico Madrid and the Premier League buys him from there. Now the Premier League is going straight to South America. Now, that could be hit and miss, because you're bringing them over very, very young. And really, I think the benchmark for so many of these moves was Vinny Jr., when Real Madrid paid what seemed like a fortune for him when he was 16. He hadn't played a professional game. And what a bargain that's turned out to be. So that's the kind of benchmark for so many of these kind of deals. But it doesn't always come off. Not everyone is Vinny. West Ham fans might be remembering at the moment Luis Guilherme, who, again, promised, but the distance between promise and reality is a very, very big one. Luis Guilherme came over after one professional goal. One. Scored actually against this team from Ecuador, Independiente del Valle. It was a cracker, but it was his only professional goal. And then he comes over as a kid and he has to justify a £25 million transfer fee. And West Ham have got almost nothing out of him yet and don't even seem to be entirely sure about what position he should be playing. So that the whole thing of bringing them over so young, there are benefits, but there are also risks, because if they're not getting in the first team, they're on their own, they're lonely, they're away from home, they don't speak the language. This can really interfere with the momentum of a career.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, there's some as Luis Guilherme, as you were talking about there, that haven't necessarily got off on the right foot. But one who's got Chelsea fans so excited is Esteval. Obviously, moving from Palmeiras now to Chelsea, he's lighting up the Premier League. Albeit the last couple of games have been a bit tough. The excitement is big in the Prem for Chelsea fans. How big is the excitement around Esteval for Brazil out there?
Huge. He's a special talent, really special talent. I well remember when he was still playing in Brazil, his coach there at Palmeiras, Portuguese, Abel Ferreira, had a long playing career, coached in Portugal, coached in Greece, and he was like almost pleading with the club, please don't sell him, let me play with this new toy for a while longer. And he was saying, Esteval, he is different from anything I've ever seen. And part of that is the talent. Part of that is the awareness of space, the awareness of which space to attack, but it's also the temperament. He would always use Esteval as an example to the other young players. Look, he tries something, it doesn't come off, it doesn't affect him in the slightest. So those three things together, the raw talent, the vision, the knowledge of what's going on around in the space to attack, and the strength of temperament, and he really is a special talent. And Carlo Ancelotti is now Brazil's coach. And his first game in charge last June, the first time Esteval started for Brazil. So Ancelotti saw him right at the start. And then between September and November, he scored 5 goals for the national team. Now, it took Vinny Jr. a long time to get to 5 goals for the national team. Esteval got there like that. So he's already someone who, all right, there's a long season ahead of him. You don't know what state he's going to be in come June. But Chelsea have a big enough squad to protect him a little bit, because at the moment, he is down as first choice for Brazil when they go in search of winning that World Cup next year.
Fantastic. Tim, thank you so much for your time, mate. Thank you, mate.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Eberechi Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Merino believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Merino praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. "We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well," the Spain international said. "Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem." The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first. When asked about Eze specifically, Merino didn't hesitate. "I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing." Merino also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. "These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal." Beyond the technical qualities, Merino believes Eze's attitude, and the healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Eberechi's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. "He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad. That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team." As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, there is a growing sense that Eze's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Eze's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Eze as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Eze's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Eze can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Eze, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Ise's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Mourinho's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Ise's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Ise can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Ise brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Ise will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Eberechi Ise was signed for. Martin Odegaard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Eberechi Ise stepped into the spotlight. Ise's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Ise out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Ise is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Mikel Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Ise has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, it has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubamendi near untouchable in the double pivot, the odds of Ise and Odegaard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odegaard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odegaard faces genuine competition, because Ise has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Ise had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just 1 behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Ise is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres. The battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of ease is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Ease force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Ease's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubimendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, Ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward: a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident Ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, it could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.